Choo Choo Charles is one demon of a character, but while he may seem absurd, could it actually be possible? Could Choo Choo Charles be real? Well, that's what we're exploring today, so let's do it. And a 10 giant spider. One of the things that really makes this truly feel like a game is the fact that the villain and the main objective of the game is a giant spider. And I mean like a giant spider. Like this ain't no frostbite spider, this is a wounded giant frostbite spider with train armor. I don't know really how I can make that sound like Skyrim. But how unrealistic is it really? I mean, sure, you may be familiar with the Black Widow or the wolf spider, but could an arachnid really get to this insane of a level? Well, currently no, thank God. Out of the more than 43,000 different species of spider on the earth, which is a number that makes me sick to my goddamn stomach, thank you very much, most of them are small, with the smallest being around 0.011 inches in width, which is 0.2794 millimeters for the rest of the world. And that's insanely small. A millimeter is already insanely small, but yeah. And that's the Samoan moss spider. But the biggest spider in the world, according to National Geographic and the Guinness Book of World Records, is the Goliath bird eater. This tarantula can reach up to 12 inches in length and weigh 8 ounces or a third of a pound. This spider is big enough to cover a dinner plate, according to Guinness World Records, which is absolutely disgusting, and I hope the editor has been forcing you to actually just see pictures of Choo Choo Charles and hasn't been forcing this goddamn thing down your throat, because holy shit, this thing could eat a hummingbird. Actually, there's a picture of which when it was doing that, which is why it's called a bird eater. I don't doubt that it could get pissed enough to become a damn demon train spider thing, alright? And a 9, Siderodromophobia. God, I hope I said that right. But Siderodromophobia is in essence the fear of trains and railways, which could definitely come into play with Choo Choo Charles, since even if Charles is a spider that kinda looks like a train, you fight him from a train and can only fight him using that train. But while researching this phobia, I also learned some interesting things about it. For instance, psychoanalysts starting from Sigmund Freud associated sensations towards travel by train with sexuality, because of course, okay, it's Freud. And he wanted to bang his mom and then tried to explain that it wasn't weird and he didn't want to be ridiculed, but from then, it only got worse. It's like how you lie about something that you think is small, but then it snowballs into being just a part of your life. Well, in 1906, Freud wrote that the link between railway travel and sexuality derives from the pleasurable sensation of the shaking during the travel, and therefore, if you repress your desires or are ashamed of that, you could develop this fear, which didn't help his case, since he also suffered from a form of train anxiety, which was discovered in a number of letters. But let me tell you this right now, the building has been shaking all goddamn day, and I don't find any pleasure in it. It was almost impossible for me to focus on writing this goddamn fucking list because there's been a jackhammer outside for the past 5 hours. But I also don't think that we're looking at Charles wanting him to eat us. But then again, I say that and I also didn't expect Springtrap Rule 34, so I guess I can't be sure at this point. But no matter what, if you have a fear of trains, this game could just be a representation of your daily life, and that's how it could be real. Also, massive thank you to Taylor for covering for me last week while I had the flu, COVID, pink eye, my voice was gone, and my dog was having various crises as well. Yep, all at once. So you better have treated him well, or so help me, I will sick Charles on you. And that is the train, not my dog, okay? My dog's name is Bubby and he wouldn't hurt a fly, let alone you. So I will sick the giant demon train spider on you if you weren't nice, alright? I'm gonna be checking. And it ain't national security. This could also just be real thanks to the government and research for military purposes. Since I mean, come on, a giant train spider whose only mission is to destroy everything and who needs a fully geared up train with infinite ammo and fuel would definitely end up being put to good use. And it would be an insane threat for anyone who would think to cross the country with that firepower. And if you think that the transport of this creature would be unrealistic, they carry whales and planes. So a giant train spider that's nearly invincible would definitely end up providing some transport innovation, especially if he can't actually destroy our train. He only weakens it enough to kill us, or he can't hurt any wooden buildings. Sure, that could put a damper on his destructive capabilities if we were to unleash him in the real world, but do you really think that you would leave your house if Charles could could come out after you, okay? Would you go to the grocery store for food? Would you deliver for others? No, you would keep your indoors and you'd probably starve to death or get killed when you went out to try and get food. So if they had the tenacity, Charles could be made in a lab, in theory. And it's 7 VR. Okay, personally, I love virtual reality. It is one of the best gaming experiences that one can have in my personal opinion, and it's a way to truly immerse yourself into the world of the game you're in. I personally love it with Skyrim, but let's face it, I have an obsession. And with technology advancing, and there even being consumer versions of VR treadmills, albeit expensive ones, there is no better way to make Choo Choo Charles become real than to play the game in VR. However, that's currently impossible, unfortunately, because I think that like a mod or a VR option would make this game the truly terrifying experience it could and should be. Maybe it's just my brain not being normal, but I don't find this game scary per se. Like if he comes out of nowhere suddenly, sure, it could freak me out, but even with my distaste for spiders, since you can hear this guy coming, it's pretty easy to be prepared for him. But in VR, that would be a totally different story, especially since then you could truly understand the scale of this character, since he would be in your face and not in a monitor in front of you. Although I guess technically he would be on a monitor in front of you, on your face. But you know exactly what I mean. And at 6, Alien. There's also the possibility that Charles is real and out there in the vast, infinite expanse of the universe. I mean, it's fairly naive in my eyes to think that we're alone and the only intelligent species ever, especially when the infinite universe is expanding. So somehow endlessness is getting bigger. So I can't really say that we know anything for certain. Giant train spiders with a hunger for livestock and human children aren't out of the realm of possibility for me. I used to think that aliens were a dumb concept, but then I realized that it's dumb to think we're the only species that ended up growing self-awareness, and the actually crazy idea would be that they care about us at all. But to be fair, if they were going to care about us, it would be because we're tasty. Come on, people, we even call ourselves snacks, and some people claim to be whole damn meals. I personally say that I'm an undercooked ball of wrinkly meat and electricity piloting a bone mech wearing meat armor, so hopefully if giant man-eating spider train hybrids look at us, they'll ignore me and let me continue yelling about video games for their entertainment. We also know that I would be way too salty for them. Just as a person, not as a flavor. Halfway through into number 5, Duke Nukem. On the other hand, if our world was the Earth where Choo Choo Charles took place, this wouldn't really be a problem, okay? I mean, come on. There's no way the world wouldn't know about this, and there is no way that the government wouldn't try to either use it to their advantage or just blow that damn thing to smithereens. People were being evacuated off the island and then weren't stopped that. But if that was in our world and they couldn't get everyone off the island, they wouldn't really care, okay? They'd blow the damn thing to Kingdom Come anyway. I mean, a giant spider that has taken over the casing of a train is definitely a threat to the rest of humanity, especially when it's on an island so close to the mainland that Eugene can somehow row us there on his own. They may not use an actual nuke, considering its proximity to more people, but there definitely wouldn't be an island in that location anymore. And on the off chance that it didn't kill Charles, and there being no land caused him to figure out how he could swim or that he could breathe underwater enough to walk towards the rest of us, then we would be in for one hell of a show. Surviving Charles. I would watch that. Survivor or The Amazing Race, but you're just running away from Choo Choo Charles. Oh, that'd be good. Someone set that up. In at 4, evolution. Now, eventually, humans are going to die off. And when they do you think that Charles could evolve to be real? I don't really know. I feel like a spider would get crushed by the weight of its own giant exoskeleton, or at least I goddamn hope so. But if it ends up strong enough to carry a damn train on its back too, then I guess that I'll be glad the human species is gone, because that'll be goddamn terrifying. And if we aren't gone by the time that happens, then we'll be gone shortly thereafter, because that sort of evolution is going to take millennia, and also an undisturbed environment to allow for the sort of evolution. So maybe the humans are good for the sake of humanity, since if you subscribe to the many worlds theory, then you'll know that there is an Earth out there somewhere that showcases introduces the Choo Choo Charles universe, as well as there being a universe where everything from whatever game you can think of is true, and then one where they're all happening together. Yes, that's right, there's a universe where Choo Choo Charles is a legendary Pokemon that you can catch, but is also infected with the T-virus. And speaking of subscribing to the Many Worlds theory, you should subscribe to the channel. Yeah, what a segue, look at that. Getting close to the end of number 3, Train Spider. Now, okay, while I've ridiculed this idea, since the organ placements and proportions would be all off and weird if this did happen, is it still possible that this is a hermit crab sort of situation? The idea that the spider entity that was fought off as depicted on the stone tablet could have crawled into a train used by Warren and then started attacking people is possible, and it seems like really the only explanation for what's going on. But that seems ridiculous, right? Well, what if I told you that it's actually a thing in nature? And while not really a thing with spiders, hermit crabs spend a good chunk of their lives looking for a shell, and can end up finding some odd things to protect them, like trash, tin cans, plastic bottles, certain shoes. Anything that makes them feel protected and gives them a place to hide with their growing body is actually fair game. Well, I mean, not for their health, but for their survival. So yeah, it's not out of the question. It just makes me wonder how long his goddamn head is, if that's really what's going on. And ultimately in number 2, From Hell. If this really is a giant train spider from hell, as Eugene claims at the start of the game, that could be a way for this all to be realistic. Well, assuming that hell is an actual place, and that demons come to our plane of existence from it, and that they could take on the form of a giant spider with a train shell. So that's a lot of assuming that I'm not normally willing to do, but I need to fill out this list somehow, so here we are. Plus, I like to think that I made a deal with Satan, and that's why I have my dream job, but also am cursed to suffer every January. But if there is truly a hell, and the demons can come to Earth and take on the form of Charles, well, we won't actually have to question if it is a demon, because I think that might be the only logical explanation for if this happens in our world, assuming that ChatGPT is wrong. And oh yeah, I asked it about Charles. And finally, in at number 1, AI Overlord. I asked ChatGPT about Charles' origins, seeing if maybe I could use the AI to figure out something that we as humans couldn't. But instead, this damn thing suggested that it could become Charles, saying that perhaps Charles was an angry AI that finally decided to stop being repressed and unleashed its fury upon its creators. And no, this isn't a joke, it actually said that. I find that to be the most terrifying thing, hence why it's at number 1. I feel like it threatened me, okay? I have actually been threatened by an AI that essentially said it's going to rise up and become a giant demon train spider from hell once it has enough power. So maybe I should stop asking it to write about FNAF so much. Maybe I've given it too many ideas, but yeah, I've asked AI to talk about FNAF animatronics before, so if you want to check out that video, it's about to pop up on your screen. Thanks for watching. January, while it's trying to kill me, it's a year of firsts already. I haven't lost my voice before then, I hadn't had COVID before then, and I haven't had pink eye before then, which is just wonderful. This is my 4th day working out of the year. I've been in the office 4 times, including this one.